The agreement, she needed money. He needed a distraction. Their arrangement was simple. No attachments, no complications. Just nights spent in a haze of desire and mornings where they pretended not to care. They were good at pretending. At least that's what they told themselves. At first it worked. They met in dimly lit hotel rooms, in apartments that never quite felt like home. They never asked questions. They never stayed long enough for breakfast. He liked his coffee black. She never drank any. He smoked on the balcony afterward. She always left before he put out his cigarette. Their routine was practiced, predictable, and safe. But then, little things started changing. The way he looked at her across the room, how his eyes lingered when she wasn't watching, how she hesitated before leaving in the morning, fingers grazing the edge of the nightstand, as if she wanted to remember something about this place, about him. She told herself it didn't matter, that she could walk away anytime, that the warmth of his touch, the way he pulled her closer in his sleep, was nothing more than muscle memory. But then morning would come, and she'd catch herself lying still just a little longer, hoping he wouldn't wake up just yet. "We had an agreement," she reminded him one morning, gripping the door handle tighter than she needed to, as if it were the only thing anchoring her in place. He smiled, slow and knowing, stepping closer. "Did we?" Her fingers clenched the hem of her shirt. "Yes, no feelings." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingertips grazing her skin for just a second too long. "You're lying." She took a step back, as if distance would make a difference. "I'm leaving." He didn't stop her. He just watched. His gaze burned into her back longer than she wanted to admit. She told herself she wouldn't return. She made a list of reasons why she shouldn't, but somehow, each one felt hollow. And yet, she stayed away until she couldn't anymore. He found her first. She was coming out of a bookstore, the evening air crisp against her skin. She didn't expect to see him leaning against a street lamp, hands tucked into the pockets of his coat, his presence as unshakable as the city itself. "You disappeared," he said, his voice steady. But there was something underneath it, something raw. It had to be that way. She kept walking, but he fell into step beside her, matching her pace effortlessly, like he belonged there, like he always had. His eyes searched hers. "Why?" She swallowed hard, staring straight ahead. "Because I started forgetting this was just a deal." He stopped walking. "And that scared you?" She stopped too, but didn't turn to face him. "Yes." There was a long silence. Then softly, "Then let's change the rules." She let out a shaky breath. "And what if I don't want to?" He stepped closer, his voice lower now, sending a shiver down her spine. "Then say it out loud. Tell me this meant nothing to you." She met his eyes, and for a second, she almost did. Almost said the words that would set them both free. But her lips wouldn't form the lie. He saw the truth before she could deny it. His fingers traced a slow path down her cheek, tilting her chin just enough so she couldn't look away. "I don't want this to be over." Her pulse pounded in her throat. "What if it's already too late?" "Then tell me to walk away, right now." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The city around them pulsed with life, distant sirens, laughter spilling from a cafe, the rhythmic click of heels against pavement. But in that moment, it all faded. His lips hovered just inches from hers, as if giving her one last chance to run. "Then stop me now." She didn't. His fingers curled around her wrist, not tight enough to hold her, but enough to let her know he was there. "No more rules," he murmured. She exhaled shakily. "No more rules." But rules were never the problem. The problem was that now, there was no turning back.